This is Floating in Dreams. This is my eyeshadow palette ranking for 2025. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today we are ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes that I tried in 2025. Happy New Year. It's January 1st as I'm posting this. Let me know what your wishes are for the new year. I would be very, very glad to know. But today we're going to have a little bit of a look back to the previous year and chat to you about all of the different eyeshadow palettes that I tried in 2025. I tried almost 60 of them. I was right in my estimation that I did when I showed you my end of year favorites video, that it would be under 60. There were years past where I tried over 100 palettes. This year I really tried to slow down. Something that you do need to know, that a lot of the palettes that you're about to see were sent to me in PR. I only placed a couple of orders throughout the year for a lot of these palettes. I am affiliated with both YESSTYLE and MONOLITH, and some of those things I then end up either getting for free, but for instance on YESSTYLE, I very often have commission that I can put towards purchases. So that's also why these sort of things happen. So don't think that this was all just me. Very often I was also just sent things without asking for them. So that definitely goes into the ranking as well. But sometimes I have definitely found a gem that way too. So let me get to the ranking. If you did see my end of year favorites, you may already know what's in the top 10. But today I'm truly ranking them to let you know what's like number 10 to 1. We're going to start all the way at the bottom with like 58 or 59. So we're going to start with things at the bottom, and things at the bottom are just things that didn't quite work for me, that I didn't enjoy as much, or they are by brands that I don't see myself ever going back to and trying again. So these are all going to be easy declutters when it becomes time to declutter my makeup collection for 2026. I know these are all going to go, and that's why they're in the bottom. First things first, we need to discuss this. I received this one in PR through MONOLITH. This is the Ensley Rain Light in Your Eyes. And this looked, when I looked at it, it looked like it was going to be a wonderful, neutral, grungy sort of color story with loads of really nice flakies. But I have just found that the Ensley Rain formula creases on me really badly. The shifts in a lot of the shifty shades that you get in them are warm tone shifts, even though the matte scent can sometimes be a little bit more cooler toned. And at the end of 2025, when this palette came out, or at the end of 2024, when this palette came out, the brand was yet again in some sort of controversy. So that's why I've decided that I'm no longer comfortable talking about this brand on my channel, which is why this is going to go towards the exit for all of those reasons. It's not the formula I like. These palettes are incredibly expensive, and they are just doing some shady things as well. So that's why I'm like, no, that's not something I want to promote. Now, as far as I know, there's no scandal with Gourmand Girls. They seem to be getting quite a bit of hype. A lot of people love their eyeshadow palettes, but I've tried their formula for the first time in 2025, and I've just found that the formula isn't really for me. They are beautiful palettes. I tried the Bitten and the Frozen Kiss. I'm not entirely sure anymore. I know I got one of these in PR, and the other one I paid for with my own money, but I don't remember which is which. The Bitten was their Valentine's Day collection this year, and this looks really pretty, but the purple background makes these eyeshadows look a lot more interesting than they actually are. So there's definitely that, which I think is a bit of a shame. For instance, this looks green in certain lighting, but it actually just is a straight up gray. But it seems to have a very strong green undertone because of the purple background. My main issue with Gourmand Girls, this is the Frozen Kiss, by the way. My main issue with them is that they do really interesting layouts, but there's always shades that are really sort of like samey. Things don't really go together. I don't get the crease shade I want. And quality-wise, the mattes tend to skip on me, and the shimmers are really hard to pick up. So this is just not the quality that I want to go for. I've now finally tried the brand. This was a brand that was really very much still on my wish list to give them a whirl, to see if I might like them. But these I tried, and I was like, And the Frozen Kiss is one that everybody raved about last year, so I was like having FOMO, like, should I still try this? And then I came to MONOLITH, and I got to try it. And it is beautiful. It's a beautiful color story, but I'm not getting from these palettes what I want to get out of it, which is why they are ranked this low. So that's why These are also going to be on the way out really, really quickly. And by the way, if you want to see swatches or looks with any of these eyeshadow palettes, I've tried every single pan in every single one of these 58 eyeshadow palettes that I'm showing you here today. So if you do want to see that, then I'm going to link you to my reviews that I have done with these. Those videos all include the close-ups and the swatches and the looks I've done. So that's elsewhere. I am a teacher in my day-to-day life. YouTube is just my side hustle, and sadly, I wish I could put swatches into every single video, but it's just not feasible for me with everything that I already have going on in my life. So that's why I'm not trying to be lazy, I'm not trying to be unhelpful, whatever, but there are videos where you can find it. And then I think you already heard me talking about these palettes in previous videos as well, of things I just didn't enjoy. The minute I tested out these 3 palettes, I think they were all in the same review as well at the start of the year somewhere, and I just disliked them so much. I was like, okay, these I am only keeping around so I can show them in my ranking video towards the end of the year, but I already knew straight away they would be instant declutters. Colourpop So Elemental. This I thought was going to be so beautiful in conjunction with my Cloud 9 palette because I love that one. But what I didn't realize when I purchased it is that this is actually a pressed glitter. What's going on there? I really feel like, because it does, like, the way it like swatches and stuff, it doesn't look like it's going to be a glitter, but it definitely worked like the traditional Colourpop pressed glitters that we got a couple of years ago in application to the eye, and I'm just not a huge fan of it. It has a couple of stunning shades in, but I found that what I wanted out of this palette, and especially how beautiful this looks in all the swatches, I'm just not getting from it what I wanted to get, so that's why it's an instant declutter for me. Same with the Weeping Angel by Flower Nose. There are going to be several Flower Nose eyeshadow palettes in this ranking today. Some of those I bought with my own money, but some of them were also sent to me by YESSTYLE in like boxes they've sent me in the year. And this is beautiful. It's a beautiful palette to look at. But in practicality, like using it, I didn't enjoy it at all. I was hoping that like these 2 shimmers could be really nice. Again, because of the shiny background, this just looks so much more interesting than it actually is. So these 2 were just really weak. This is the only shimmer that I enjoyed. And you get some like pastely things leading into brown. In theory, this is a palette that works, but for me, it just didn't make any sense. I didn't enjoy the looks that I pulled out of it, and therefore it's ranked this low. And I felt similarly about this Millefie Monet palette. This is beautiful, but this is quite expensive for what you actually get. You only get 6 shades, and here as well, the packaging makes it look more interesting than it actually is. These are softer palettes, which I really don't mind from like a lot of K&J and Asian beauty brands. As you will see, I have a couple of them ranked a lot higher than this is. But this all just looked a little samey. And if it didn't have the cute embossing on these pans, it would just be a nudie beige eyeshadow palette. And this was a little bit too warm toned compared to what I thought it would look like when I bought it. So it looked differently online than it did in the end on my lids. And these, the Diamond Treasures from Catrice that came out, I think this was their like palette release for like fall winter 2025, and I really didn't like these. It comes with like a cream to powder, sort of like Natasha Denona does these cream to powders. They're trying to mimic that, and then a shimmer to go with it. These I really did not enjoy. They are very difficult to pick up. The shimmer needs a finger to even be able to use it. Same for that cream to powder shades. It's just really stiff, not great blendability. They kind of skip. This was not worth it. Next up, we're going from 50 to 41, and in number 50 spot, I'm gonna have this palette by Haggard. Haggard is another like sea beauty brand that I really wanted to try. I'd heard some good buzz about this. This is their Scepter line, I believe it is called. I think I picked this up through YESSTYLE. It's beautiful. Let's be real here. I was really into trying pinky tones for a while there, and this was part of that like pink toned run of me trying to find good pink tone palettes. This is really, really pretty. It's got a really nice flaky shimmer, and this is a little bit different. It has like pink to green, which is pretty, but overall I just didn't feel this gave me what I wanted. The flaky is really pretty, but like the Ensley Rain flakies, it just creases on me. It just creases on me. This is only 5 shades. I know I can get other people to really enjoy this. And this packaging, can we take a moment for that? This looks really, really beautiful. Can you hear that? It's incredibly cheap, like plastic packaging. It's just, yeah, it looked a lot more exciting online than it did once I got it in my home. That's the conclusion on that one. This was gifted to me by Esther. She was like, this way you can try some more Odin's Eye. This is the Spring Dragon palette that they did in collaboration with It's Judy Time. This was part of their legendary Diversa collection that they did with a couple of creators a couple of years ago. And this is essentially a really beautiful palette. It's making me want to try more Odin's Eye because this is the first time in years that I've tried an Odin's Eye palette where I can use the shimmers, which has always been an issue for me. That being said, this palette by itself, I mean, it's not really my color story. I'm glad I got to try it. These are really nice, soft, sugary shades. They work well for how light this is, but I'm not huge on pastels. And if I wear pastels, I get them out of other palettes, as you will see later on in the video. Like, I have plenty of pastels in a lot of my palettes now, and I don't need any other dedicated pastel palette because I have other things in my makeup collection that can do this. So it's not that unique, even though it may look unique in the, like, compared to everything else I'm showing you here today, but it wasn't my favorite. Another thing that wasn't my favorite is the Adept Emo palette. I was offered this in PR by Monolith, and throughout the year, like, Monolith only started really sending out PR in 2025 to different creators. And I was really happy to be one of them. And it allowed me to try new palettes almost every single month this year, which I feel super lucky. But they've definitely changed how they approach PR throughout the year. So they actually ran out of time towards the end of the year for, like, sending out PR before their launches. So they've now just giving us store credit that we can then use towards a purchase, and we can just pick from whatever's new in the drop and then have it ordered to our house. And that's been a lot more helpful to me because at the start of the year they were just like sending things, and this was the things, like, they would give you a little list of like, these are the things we're definitely going to have in, and then you could pick like 1 or 2 items from that list. I prefer the way they've done it in the past couple of months. I hope they keep doing that you can just like get a code and you can order it yourself from the website. That works a little bit better for me, to be fair. But yeah, Adept Emo palette. It was a chance for me to try more Adept. Adept is another brand that I'm not a huge fan of. Again, I feel they are far too expensive for what they have to offer. I know that a lot of people will defend them and say, but there's no other brand that gives you so many sparkly things in one palette. And in a way, they're right. But it still doesn't warrant this price point because, hear me out, I can only use all those pretty sparkly things if I have enough other shades that they can go with and that they can look nice on my lids. And that's the issue with the Adept palette for sure. There are some beautiful shades in here, so I'm probably going to pull this apart and take out the shades I do like, but I don't like this. This is really pretty, but this is like the only sort of holographic shimmer that I could actually make work. That's why I wanted to test it out, because holographic shimmers were everywhere this year. But this is too dark. This pools really dark on me, which I didn't like. So this was, in the end, the only holographic shimmer I could really use. So that was a bit useless. And then the other shades in here were also pretty crease prone as well. So for me, for how much you pay for this, if you have to pay this with your own money, I believe on Monolith these retail for almost 100 euros. To me, it's not worth it. There are, you'll see in this video, there are other indie brands that are still expensive, but not this expensive, that also do the flaky things and the holographic shimmers and the interesting things. But they give you better color stories that work together, and they still do really pretty sparkly things, and those last better on my lids. I'm like, I'd be happy to pay less, you know? So this is just far too expensive for what it is. But that way, I got to confirm for myself that indeed Adept is just not really for me. That Rule palette looks really pretty. The reformulated Minka is calling my name, but I look at those palettes and I just realistically know that I will not enjoy using them. So there's that. The Lovers by Cosmic Beauty. This was one again sent to me in PR. I didn't have much of a choice. It's like, we're gonna send everybody the same palette. Yay! And I had just been telling you guys in my new makeup releases how I wasn't gonna pick this up because this color story is just not that interesting to me. Now that I've used it, I have to say I do enjoy it more than I had expected, but I just have things that can do this in my makeup collection already. I didn't need this in my life, and that's where a lot of the things that are ranked here more so in the middle are going to fall into. Yes, they are good palettes, they are objectively good quality, but they just don't tickle the itch for me. And this is something that you do need to realize. Like, I've been creating online content since 2010. I've been here. I've been there. I've done that. Got the t-shirt a million times over. So for me to be having that excitement of a new product that I feel is really bringing something new to the table is quite rare. It takes a lot to impress me. This just isn't that. Even though I love Cosmic Beauty as a brand, I love their formula, they are really consistent. And in terms of affordability, like compared to Adept, these Cosmic Beauty palettes are half the price. And you still get interesting shimmers. You still get things with a shift and things that are a little bit sparkly, especially in some of their newer palettes. I think they're doing a really good job for what you're getting. This to me is far more usable than the Adept Emo palette. And again, if for instance you don't have a lot of makeup yet, you get 5 browns, you get 5 sort of pinky purpley berries, you get some bluey teals, and you get these green tones. So if you don't have a lot of blue, green, purple palettes, like I do, and you're a little bit newer to makeup and maybe you've never tried Cosmic Beauty before, then I think this is a really good first step into exploring what they have to offer. But I have the Serenity. I have the Muse, which you will see in a sec. I have so many other palettes, even by the same brand. I have Winter Wonderland, that I feel are far more unique than these more muted, colorful shades that I think are really accessible to a lot of people, but that don't excite me. This is a bit of a boring palette to me. And the reason why it's boring to me is not because it's not good, or because it doesn't have good shades, or because it's not pretty, or it's not like within a price category that I feel very comfortable paying even myself. It's because it looks like everything else I've already tried. Speaking of the Muse, that's actually the next palette already. So the Muse is pretty. This is a pretty palette, but I did feel as I was testing it out that, and I tested it out in 2 steps. I did my initial review in October, and then I went back to it in December to do some additional looks, because I don't want to review a palette if I haven't tried every single shade. That's just the way my brain works. I cannot, like, I have a good grasp of formulas. I can, just by sticking my brush into a palette once and doing one look, I can tell whether it's going to last on my lids, or, like, I can tell, right? But very often, especially if a palette seems to have so many different shades in, you do a better job as a reviewer if you've tried every single shade, because not every shade is created equal. I've tried so many eyeshadow palettes over the past 15, 16 years where some of the shades are really inconsistent and the quality doesn't seem to be the same within the same palette. So I'm very much of the opinion that I need to test out every single shade before I can give you my full thoughts. And again, this has some really good shades in. Don't get me wrong, this is beautiful. But it's essentially 10 greens and then a couple of pinky purples with some neutrals thrown in. That's it. They're just jumbled up in a very interesting way. Like, you need to train yourself to see these things, to see the impact of that purpley background. Like the fact that these have the gold shiny rim around them, designed to catch your eye on Instagram and to make it look more interesting than it actually is. Same thing with the way this palette is laid out. This is made for online content creation only, not necessarily for the practicality of you using your makeup every single day. Be aware of these things. Be aware of the marketing ploys. Be aware of the things that brands do to pull you in and to make things look far more exciting than they actually are. This is not an exciting palette. Is it a nice palette? Yes. Will this go really well with the Serenity? Yes, I think so. Is this an older Cosmic Beauty palette and have they changed their formula since then? Also yes. So that's why I am ranking it down here, because as interesting as this looks, your eyes are deceiving you, step one. And step two, I feel that the brand is currently, with the palettes they've brought out in 2025, is doing something better than they did when they brought up this. I think this is from like 2021. This is like 5 years old by this point. Well, not mine, because I got it this year, but the formula is, you know? So that's why I'm like, do your research when you look into palettes, like, and be critical of what you're getting. Another thing that I picked up because I was offered it in PR from MONOLITH, and I was like, yes, I can finally try this brand. Artitude Cosmetics. This is the Urban Neutrals. I do believe that Artitude has yet again rebranded. Like, this brand has gone through different names, different logos in the past years. It's like, make up your mind and decide what you want to be. I don't like this, so that's why I keep the sleeve. And I like this color story. You'll look at this and you'll go like, yes, Micah, this is very much up your street. And it is. It's beautiful. But like the Muse, similar thing here. It's not a formula I enjoy, and it looks more interesting than it actually is. It's essentially just a neutral palette with some muted pops of color. That's what you're getting. It's nice. Can you see this white shade and the sort of dent that it has? I'm not sure if the camera picks up on it. That's from one use. That's just from once sticking my brush into the palette. It's like disintegrating as we speak. There are some objectively really beautiful shades in, but I wanted more shimmers. It is essentially a very matte heavy palette, but I was hoping that the shimmers could redeem that as I was trying it. This rose gold taupey thing, chef's kiss, really beautiful. I wanna shower in it, but the rest of the palette is just a bit boring. It's another palette that just looks more interesting than it actually is, and like with Gourmand Girls, now that I've tried this palette from Artitude, unless they do something that a lot of people start hyping up and it's like the best palette of the year for a lot of people, I don't think I will be trying this brand anytime soon, because the formula just wasn't anything special to me. This felt like cheap makeup, and it just felt a little bit overpriced, in my opinion. But that's just me, and maybe you have a different opinion. That could very well be, but it's just not really what I want from an eyeshadow. We have something that was gifted to me by YESSTYLE. This is the Strawberry Rococo palette, and they sent this to me. Like, sometimes like they'll send out an email and you can apply, and then they decide based on your followers and what traction you have, whether they're going to send you something. And again, I have no control on what's in the box. I just get what I get. So we all know that a color story with warm pinks, not my forte. It's not what I reach for in a jiffy. Is it pretty? Yes, I enjoy Flower Nose. They have some beautiful things. But this wasn't quite right for me, and this entire collection was actually quite warm-toned. But it does have beautiful things in it, and again, the packaging. Like, just as a display piece in my makeup room, this would be really pretty. But if I were to start displaying every single eyeshadow palette that I think looks pretty for display, my entire room will be taken over. So this is probably going to go and find a new home in the new year as well, because I'm like, I just can't keep everything around. And while pretty, I do think they've done some slightly better things that I like better. Also ranked here is the Noir palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics. This is another brand I had never tried before, and this was in the Black Friday drop that MONOLITH did. So again, something I was gifted in PR, and I thought this is going to be a perfect palette for me to try the brand, because it's 50% browns essentially, and then some fun pops of color. When I tested it out, I did go this row with this row, this row with this row, this row with this row, because something told me which shade like this, because it's again like pastel leaning, that it could get a little bit messy because they do have a very strong white base, and if you blend a lot of pastels together, it can look chalky even on someone with pale skin like mine. So I was like, I'm better off testing them in conjunction with the browns. That was the move to go. The shimmers are in here are really beautiful, but I didn't love the mattes. And I know that that's one of the things that a lot of people are raving about, and some people have told me that I should perhaps have tried a different Simply Posh Cosmetics palette. But again, the Aurora or the Cozy Cabin, I know that those are far more popular. Those are color stories I already have a million times over in my makeup collection. This is something unique. I want things that are unique, and if a brand cannot do consistent quality for every single palette they do, that tells you it's not a very good brand. I know, controversial opinion, but if a brand has different quality, not just because they've reformulated it over time, like this was only launched in 2025. If your palette that came out 3 years ago is better than the one you're doing in 2025, you're not being very consistent as a brand. Like with Cosmic Beauty, where they first do a formula that's a little bit older and I only get to try the palette now, I feel differently about that than I do something like this. Is it still unique? Yes. But again, the gold silk, like foily background makes it look far more interesting than it is. And it was really in the browns for me. Like these, also when I swatched them, I thought, ooh, a little bit more of a neutrally wow, a little bit more warm toned, and a little bit more cool toned. I put them on the lids and all those undertones just went out the window. It all looked orange on me. The mattes were super, like, the amount of kick up with these eyeshadows, like I haven't seen this since I tried Primark eyeshadow 5 years ago, which I decluttered straight away and partly gifted to my niece so she can have some makeup to play with when she's here. And because it was terrible, and this had that same thing. So yeah, pretty, yes. Does it work? Yes, it's decent quality. And Simply Posh isn't hugely expensive. But I don't need 18 shades. I would want more of the shimmers. The mattes are too powdery and have a lot of kick up. Like, it's just not really hitting it for me. It's just not hitting the mark. And I know that some people are going to be surprised with this, but I did like this. Another Flower Nose palette, better than I did the Simply Posh. Here we have the Strawberry Rococo collection. So the other one was the Strawberry Cupid. And this, if you're giving me pinky purples with like a peachy shimmer, this is really pretty. It's very sort of whimsical and ethereal on the eyes. If you want to go for that light wash of pastel color, this was really, really successful for me, but it's also a one-trick pony. Like, this is, like, this only, like, if I want to do a very romantic, whimsical eye, I'll think of this. How often do I want to do that in a year? Maybe once. So this is not a palette that's going to be top of mind for me, which is why it's this low down. Then we get to this one. I think one of my biggest disappointments of the year. You'll find, as we will go through the list, that I really enjoy Bella Beauté Bar. I've tried several of their palettes this year. Really enjoyed it. This came out over the summertime, so I did pay for this with my own money. Because I had to place an order with Monolith to try some of these palettes that came out in like the summer season. And this, on paper, looks like it's one of the best neutral eyeshadow palettes on the planet. And it is, if you stick to the mattes. If you stick to the matte, this has really, really good mattes. Can't fault them. They are pigmented enough, but still really blendable. They are so delectable to use. I'm definitely thinking of pulling some of these like mattes just to have them in my singles collection because it's beautiful. What I didn't love were the shimmers. And if you know anything about me, if you follow my reviews, you know that shimmer quality is what I use to sort of make the difference in my ratings between palettes. Not the mattes. Almost every brand on the planet can do a good matte. Like mattes, even if they're super powdery like the Simply Posh, like they'll still go on. They'll still go onto your face. But if a shimmer doesn't have enough hold, it's just going to be dusty flakes of glitter all over your face after an hour. So shimmer, I feel, is the thing you can really use to tell what the quality of an eyeshadow is going to be like. And with this, we just got some shimmers that I didn't enjoy. It's especially these two shades, so the silver and this gold. They are essentially pressed glitters. And they are pressed glitters, like they have almost like a glitter glue inside them, which is really helpful because it does mean they stick down and they won't move. So it's not as if you're going to get a lot of fallout with these. It's just that you cannot pick them up with a brush. They will not blend. And the only way to apply them is with fingers. Now, it looks on camera like I've got a lot more lid space than I actually do. But compared to my, like if I close my eyes compared to my finger, like one finger covers up my entire lid area. How am I supposed to use these? I don't have that much lid space. So that's, for me, it doesn't really work. There's one thing that redeems this palette. A colleague of mine, for our disco theme party, wanted to wear gold disco balls in her hair, and she had a gold shimmering top. She's like, I don't have it, but I'm sure you do have a really good gold shimmer eyeshadow. And I'm like, yep. So I swatched a couple on my arm. I let her pick, and the thing she picked was this eyeshadow. So I actually took this one out of the palette in a little Z palette, took it with me to the party, and when I did her, she was like, can you then also apply it to me? I'm like, yeah. And because I could have just used my fingers, it was just dab, dab, dab onto her lids, and then some of my colleagues saw it, and then they wanted it too. So this is now the star of the show of everyone's makeup look of my office Christmas party. So it does work. It does work. It does, and it stay put. I was like telling them, like, do you have an oil-based cleanser at home? Because else this won't be coming off. And a colleague was like, no, I don't. I don't even have eyeshadow or eye makeup remover. I'm like, get yourself some olive oil if you do have that, or coconut oil, because that's going to take it off. I say, don't do that every night, but if you're in a pinch, it does work for this kind of level of stickiness. So again, the shadows have merit, but it doesn't go with how I like to do my makeup. Is it therefore a bad palette? No, it's objectively a good palette. Yeah, is this a good eyeshadow palette? Objectively, yes, but I'm just not getting out of it what I would want to get out of it. And when I saw this online, like when it was launched, I was like, oh, this is going to be my new favorite neutral eyeshadow palette. And then I was just so bummed when I was using it, because mainly of those two shades, but also shimmer wise, I'm just not really getting the shades I want. Combined with other neutrals, it's going to be really beautiful, but it's just not that one-stop shop for me that I wanted this to be. So we've done 50 to 41, so now we're doing 40 to 31. So number 40 is actually this Saison little eyeshadow that I picked up in Japan. The eyeshadow has cracked for some reason. I didn't see it, but it probably happened in my suitcase. This is a really nice little trio. It's very satin leaning. This is pretty decent quality for what you get. It's going to be soft, it's going to be sophisticated, and as you can see, everything has the same level of shimmer. But I was pretty impressed with this. Like, this for this little, like, very cheap feeling makeup was actually really well done. If you love satins, look into Japanese brands because they're actually doing some really nice things. It's satins. And it's only one look in a little trio. So I'm not going to get versatility out of this. This was fun to try and test out, but this is not going to make it into my makeup collection for a very long time. 2025 was also the year of the re-releases, so I got to try the Smoky Glam. This was sent to me in PR, and I actually did try out the original version of the Smoky Glam, and I kept that one around. I almost decluttered it this year, but then I kept it around because I knew this palette would be coming. And the thing I liked about the original Smoky Glam is not in this palette. That's why this is ranked so low. We're getting 3 rows of pinks, 1 row of cool tones, and it was the cool tones that I really liked in the Smoky Glam, so I would have wanted this row to also be a cool tone neutral row, because the original Smoky Glam was a 50-50 splits between pinky tones and cool tone neutrals, and this isn't. So that's a bit of a shame. There are pretty shades in here for sure. It's really sparkly. There are flakies. It lasts really well, but it's sort of like giving you the same look. Like, I did a look with each row, and whichever of the pink rows I used, my eye look turned out looking the same. Another palette by Bella Beauté Bar is the Coalescence. This was their collab together with No Pore Makeup. This is beautiful. It's a really stunning eyeshadow palette, but again, the color story doesn't really come together for me. Is it beautiful? Does it have some really stunning shimmers in? Yes, but every green in here has a different undertone, so none of these will blend together. Just none. Just none of them. I do really enjoy this gray taupe neutral, of course, because who am I? The purples are really nice, but I really struggled with this palette with the undertones. This may work better if you have medium to deep skin and you have a warm undertone, but on my incredibly fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, the shades just never really looked right. And with some of the looks, I actually felt like I looked a little ill. So that's why this didn't really work for me, even though it is a beautiful palette. I'll definitely be salvaging some of those shades. Then Witch of the Wildflower by Dieverune Cosmetics. This I bought at the end of 2025 to give the brand a whirl. Liked them enough, but not enough where I was like, nah, I now want everything by this brand. Like, ow. Sometimes I have that. I want suddenly everything that a brand has. But here we have, I'm not bleeding, am I? No. But here we have essentially a like yellowy, green, pinky, purple color story with 3 shimmers in the middle. And it all does go together really nicely, but nothing in here wows me or really put me over the edge of like, oh, that's something really unique. It's another eyeshadow palette where I'm like, it looks unique, but in usage, it just wasn't that interesting to me. Next up is probably a bit of a surprise that I'm ranking this down low, but this is the Viseart Lilas Lumiere. I really wanted to love this, and I just didn't. This is essentially a combination of some of the Lila quads that we got in the Petit Four line, but I have 2 of those already. So did I need this? Maybe not. Do I like it? Yes. But does this look like every single Viseart palette I've ever tried? Also yes. It's a little mid-tone heavy, and I just liked another thing that I bought at the same time as this palette a lot more than I did this. Fantasy Cosmetica's Harvest of Souls. This was really good. Again, released at the end of 2024, so I only got to try it this year because it did come to Monolith a little bit later. Did pay for it with my own money. You essentially get a teal quad, a green quad, a purple quad, and this warm-toned reddish mustardy gold sort of quad. Really beautiful. I love Fantasy Cosmetica as a brand, and the palette they did before this I wasn't a huge fan of, but this was the quality I remember them by and that I really liked. In 2025, Fantasy Cosmetica just didn't do a lot of color stories that I truly felt I needed to have, so that's why this and only one other palette is going to show up in this video today. Vintage Glam also was re-released by Glossgods for their Black Friday sale last year. And I should say 2024. That's last year now, Micah. This is one I missed out on. This was released together with the new Neutrals Remixed. But because I hadn't tried the brand at the time, I didn't want to like buy everything yet. So I first wanted to give that a whirl. But then this was discontinued before I could ever purchase it. And this was a color story I still wanted to try, because it's sort of like that spring, rosy with pink, neutrally warm tones kind of color story that made me really excited. Essentially, you're getting like 6 plummy lavender shades and then 6 rosy, neutrally peachy leaning shades. So it's got warm tones and cool tones in the same palette. It's really pretty. It's the Glossgods formula I know I like. But I do think they're doing slightly more exciting things that they've come out with later. So this is nice. It was nice to be able to complete my collection because this was still sort of like on the wish list. Like if they ever bring it back, I might. But yeah, it's not something that I necessarily like needed to have, but it's nice to have it. And also this low down is another Viseart palette. This is the, I need to say this correctly. This is the Rêverie Étendue. I always think it's called Paris Reverie, but apparently it has different names on the website compared to here. This is nice. I like this better than the Lilas because it has a bit more contrast. Essentially, you get some like mauvey, purpley tones and some peachy, warm tones. It's got a nice 50-50 split. It does have a couple of cool tones in, but not too many. I like this well enough, and it does have a really nice soft formula, but that did mean that one of my shades cracked and then was delivered to me. They did send me a new one, which I put in a giveaway because it was like, if I can fix that shadow, it's gonna be fine. It didn't crack again, so I'm happy with my repressing and being able to give the other one to one of you guys. But yeah, this is just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, it's good, but how much would I reach for it? I don't really know. So that one was nice to try again. I love Viseart formula. We all know that about me. Then another Flower Nose palette. This is the Black Swan. And this, I think, is a little bit more unique to my collection, which is why it's up here. You get two sort of shimmer shades on one end, and then a red, two grays, and then a white. So the mattes are in the middle, and then the shimmer on either end. The white, I'm not sure if you can see in this lighting, but it's got a pink flash, so it goes with the red really well. And this sort of like gray silver with a red is all over the place. First in Chinese beauty, and now we're getting a lot of reds also in indie brand palettes. The Haunt Me palette by Blend Muddy that they released around Christmas time, that new Death Tarot palette that Cosmic Beauty has. Like, I'm really seeing like grays with red really having a moment in 2026. But again, it's okay, it's nice, but it's not like mind-blowing. And then something that kind of disappointed me, but not really, so that's why it's sort of right here in the middle. This is the Green Goddess by Bella Beauty Bar. This is really beautiful, but it's not as green as I wanted it to be. For a Green Goddess palette, it does have some peachy things in. If it didn't have the peach, like if it was just this 9 pan, I would have liked it so much better. But the greens we get in here are really good, because the greens in here all have a grayish sort of cool undertone. Another reason why I don't understand the peach, but oh well. And also the very, very beautiful shimmers that we get in here, like this one especially, so yummy. They all have a more cool toned flip, which I enjoy as well. So does this work? Is this a really nice quality palette? Yes, but color story wise, I wanted a little bit more. We're now going from 30 to 20, so we're in the top 30. And number 30 is going to the Nearly Natural by Glaminatrix. This is another re-release, and I like this a little bit better than I did the Smoky Glam re-release. And the reason for it being is that this gave me more than what the original palette gave me. So I actually decluttered the original palette that I used to own that had 15 shades in. This had 20, so we get a couple of more things, and the things we get more of were the things I was missing in the original palette. The reason why I'm still not ranking it any higher, even though I do really enjoy Glaminatrix, is because this palette already existed. And I feel like in 2025, we do not re-release. We just don't need re-releases. The people who already wanted this palette, bought it at the time. Release something new. It just feels like a cash grab to me. So that's why I'm like, I like it. I really, especially like these like murky shades we're getting here, I really like. There are some more cool tones in here compared to the original. Each row works beautifully together. We're getting shimmers that I like. It just has a lot going for it. So again, objectively, good quality eyeshadow palette, but I don't like what it represents. So this eyeshadow palette is quite unique, and it's the Witch's Familiar by Fantasy Cosmetica. So this is in the number 29 spot. This is beautiful. I really, really do like it. But the color story, it's perhaps a little too out there for me. I really enjoyed the look that I did with this half of the palette, but this half of the palette is a little bit tricky for me. And I don't really see how I can use these reds with these like lavenders or the minty green shades, because I feel these are too light to have any sort of balance with these reddish tones. So for me, the entire color story, like if I can't use every single shade together with another shade in the palette, I always knock it down a little bit. But this is very unique. So if you, like me, have a larger makeup collection and you're looking for something that's super unique, then this might work. This is a collab with Betty Bean, of course. So this was another collaboration palette that happened this year, and I picked it up through Monolith. I think I was sent this in PR. Just to give it a try, just to have another interesting color story in my makeup collection. The reds are really good. The shades, like each shade individually is really good. I wanted more things to go together. For instance, if this had been more navy and it didn't have as much of like a green base to it, I would have liked it better with the reds than if it had, like it now looks a little bit too teal. So that doesn't really work. So, and if there had been a little bit more depth in these shades, it would have worked better with the reds as well. I don't know. It isn't quite, like some of the shades are too bright, too light, a little too pastel leaning for everything to go together. That's why I'm not ranking it any higher. The Twilight palette by Colourpop, I bought it together with this So Elemental. This also has one of those weird, flaky, glittery things in. It's this shade right here. But this taupe, really lovely. Like, this is sort of like colorful, muted, but still some neutrals in. It's really, really well done. I really like it. And I used to have a soft spot for everything Twilight. So it's very sort of like my 20s were very much a Twilight sort of thing. So, and it's the book that got me back into reading after being an English major for years. And I thought I could only read books if they were classics, because that's how I was like raised by my studies. And this book taught me that I can also just read things to enjoy them. So Twilight is very near and dear to my heart for that reason, but I also really enjoy the color story and most of the shadows that are in here. Dancing Lights by Glossgods. Remember that I said I have plenty of pastels? I think like this compared to the Odin's Eye doesn't even hold a candle. Like the Odin's Eye doesn't even come close to this. This has really beautiful flaky shimmers in, and I know that Glossgods is really hard to buy if you're not in the EU. But for me, I'm in the EU. Glossgods is Swedish. Shipping is like 8-9 euros to get it to me. And I very often buy them during Black Friday because they always have either a new palette and a deal on at the same time. And it essentially means I don't have to pay for shipping. So it's okay. They now do 15 pans, and I'm not entirely sure I like that. I like their 12 pans better, so that's why I'm not ranking this super high. And also a color story like this, as fun as it is, I'm not going to reach for all the time. But it has some beautiful multi-chromes in. It has some flaky things in. It has some really beautiful pastel-y shades in. It's Aurora Lights inspired, which I think is also really fun. Is it very unique in my makeup collection? Maybe not, but it does have some good shades in, so this is not going anywhere. I love my little Glossgods collection, but yeah, the 15 pans, they are also more expensive than the 12 pans were. So there I'm like, I don't love that, you know? The Crown Legacy, the limited edition collection that Monolith did in collaboration with Glaminatrix, or Glaminatrix did it in collaboration with Monolith. I thought it was really cool that they got their own palette with Glaminatrix. This is very similar. Let me see. Where did we put it? Where did we put it? Remember what I said about the Cosmic Beauty? That it's not that unique? I feel like these are so similar. Again, with like the muted greens and the muted purpley berry tones. It doesn't have the teals in as much. There are some teal shades in here. And then you get fewer neutrals, but these neutrals are more neutral toned. The ones in the Cosmic Beauty are more warm toned. I mean, it's pretty. It's really, really pretty. But I felt a little bit misled by this palette, and it's nothing against the brand or how this went in PR. I was sent this in PR prior to launch with the request to do a little bit like of content creation with it before the launch, which is what I did on my community tab. I'm a creator who uses natural lighting as much as I can, especially for taking pictures of things like swatches and close-ups of palettes. And so when I get a palette in, I wait for a day where I have natural daylight and I can take a picture. But I had only seen this being promoted by other creators who had also received it, who use studio lighting and really, really incredible settings on their cameras to make everything look more saturated, I think. Because I got this in and I felt so confused. I was like, it's so much more muted than anything I had seen online. And of course, because I was sent this in advance, and I was sort of part of the people who were showcasing this for the first time, I was like, and I do think that this really goes into it, and I've done several videos already here on the channel explaining this to you. I mean, since I've been doing this for such a long time, I've used several cameras, I've used different lighting techniques for so many of my videos and pictures, and the reason why I still use daylight for a lot of my filming, which is very fickle, like today is a really sort of in and out day with loads of clouds and stuff, but the reason why I do it is because nobody lives their life under studio lighting. And I feel like, especially with this launch, because of everything that I had seen on Instagram with the palette, I thought it was very different. And then when I got it in, because It takes about a week and a half for things from Germany to get to me. Once it's been sent, so I'm always like I always feel like other people have already received the palettes and they're already posting on Instagram. And so I see a couple of those things, and then I got the palette in and I was like, wait, it's far more muted than I had expected. And that's very often due to the lighting that people are using and the cameras they use and the settings that they use. Like what kind of level of saturation are they using? What kind of like brightness are they using? There's so much that goes into it. And I also know like in post-production, when you're editing the video, you can also like use filters and stuff to make things look so much more interesting than you actually want. We all know like the super sparkly swatches that you see from brands like Pat McGrath. They use mirrors, they use flashlights to make everything look more sparkly. So especially when you see things online, always ask yourself that question: how was it filmed? How was it made? Like, how was the content made? And I know that a lot of people want everybody to use artificial lighting, like studio lighting, to film because it's like, oh, I can see things much better. No, you can't. You can't. If you can't see it in this lighting, you will never ever see it on your face. We all know makeup stores use overhead lighting also to make things look more sparkly. It's why if you go into store to swatch things, I would always recommend that you go outside in real daylight and see what it does on your hand. And that's going to really greatly help you to prevent yourself from being disappointed with the purchases you do decide to make. I'm just trying to keep it real here. Then we have the Terra Moons Ophiuchus. That's how you pronounce it, I believe. This is really, really stunning, but I got this in PR from Monolith when I actually had placed my order for a couple of other palettes. Like, oh, we'll just throw in a couple of things now that you're back from vacation. I was like, thank you. But it was in the same PR package as a palette that made it into my top 10. As you will see, if you have already seen my end of year favorites, you know what's going to be in the top 10. And a lot of the palettes I tried in October, when I also tried this, are in that top 10. So October was my best month when it came to eyeshadow palette trials. And this just kind of fell by the wayside because I put it up against so many other really great things. Do I still like this palette? Yes. Do I like Terra Moons? Also, yes. Like, this is a beautiful, beautiful palette. It does have, again, some like undertones in the greens that don't really go together. There are a couple of warm tones in. But overall, the looks I created with this were very cohesive and they looked really pretty. It's essentially sort of like, how should I say this? Colourpop Dream Street. Anybody remember like the warm tones with the pop of teal? It's giving you that. It's the warm tones with the pop of teal with some cooler tone greens thrown in the mix. And we all know I love warm tones with a pop of teal. Mountain Trail by Sydney Grace. This was sent to me by Esther. She was like, hey Micah, I know you haven't tried this one and it's my favorite palette. So they're discontinuing it, so I'm going to give it to you. I'm like, okay, thanks, I'll try it out. The only reason why this is here is that these are not my green tones. Like, my greens need to be a little bit more gray. Is this objectively a really beautiful palette though? Yes, I had a lot of fun using this. It's a Sydney Grace formula I love. I knew this was going to be a good palette. But color story wise, especially this top row, it's just not giving Micah necessarily. Is this beautiful? Yes. Again, I do have color stories like this in my makeup collection already. I'm thinking of something like the Melt Gemini. That's also warm tones with grungy greens. And this is also warm tones with grungy greens. That's the reason why I never bought it myself. Am I happy that Esther gifted it to me and that I now got to try it? Yes. But is it going to be my new favorite palette? Sadly, no. We have Viseart. This is the final, not the final Viseart palette, but this is the final Viseart palette that's not in the top 10. But this is the Petite Matte Cool Original. So I tried the Cool Mattes that I had previously. There are two different types of Cool Matte palettes from Viseart. This is the mini version of the Cool palette that they came out with back when they only had the plastic lid packaging. They now do that plus these cardboard things. That's a palette I never got to try because I found them really expensive. but this is beautiful. This is what I wanted the cool mattes to be that I used to have previously. The other one has 4 sort of rows like this, and they all pulled super gray. But in this one, the undertones do show up on me. You have something that's a little bit more plummy. You get these bluish gray tones. There are some more like browny taupe leaning things. It's really beautiful. I don't have a lot of all matte eyeshadow palettes. I don't love them. I love shimmers over mattes anyways. But if I'm in a pinch and I need an all matte palette to round out a look, I now have a really good one on hand that I can use for that purpose. We have the Sydney Grace Cozy Cafe in this part of the ranking as well. Again, not because I don't like it, but it wasn't quite giving what I had expected. It seems like my dark gray shimmer of this one is cracking a little bit. Oh no, oh no, oh no. But this is a beautiful eyeshadow palette. So I do think this is objectively, again, a really beautiful eyeshadow palette in a really high performing quality. So there's nothing wrong with the palette. I just want it more. What I wanted more of were cool tones. This was promoted as a cool tone palette. And then I got it in and I started using this. This is the light version on my fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone. And I was like, there's only 1 row of cool tones. And it's this one. Are the other 2 rows nice? Yes. But the pinks are warm. They pull essentially pinky peach on me. And then these are all sort of cocky greens, which again, have a little bit of warmth in them. Nothing wrong with it. There are really beautiful shades in here. Will I enjoy using this palette in the future? Absolutely. I will certainly love it. But it's not a cool tone palette. And then the final eyeshadow palette here is palette number 21. And this is Wicked Widow Beauty Tales of Terror, A Haunting. This, I think, was one of the first things that Monolith sent to me in PR, and this was a huge surprise to me because I really did not think that I was gonna like this because it's got so much orange in. And if we know, if there's a shade that doesn't suit me, it's orange. Orange and yellow tone golds are like the worst shades against my skin tone, okay? It just doesn't work. But surprisingly, there's a lot in here that isn't an orange that does work. The murky greens, the purples, this shimmer alone is worth the entire palette. So I'm really, really happy that I did receive this in PR, that I was able to try it. Wicked Widow Beauty was a brand I had not tried before, and this is a stunning formula. I do really enjoy it. If it didn't have the oranges, this would have been ranked a lot higher. Then we're moving from numbers 20 to 11. So we're in the top 20. We're getting really, really close. So numbers 20 and 19 are going to go to these 2 palettes. These are both 4 pans, one by Glam Shop, one by Girl Cult. I'll show you the Glam Shop one first. This is the Cool Glam Quad, and this is really, really beautiful. It's essentially a Cool Glam Quad. The only reason why I'm not ranking it higher is because I wish this matte creamy shade was a deeper tone of this matte. That would have worked better for me in terms of the quad than this very light sort of shade. I don't use shades like that a whole lot because I use shades like that mainly to set my eyeshadow base with, and other than that, they don't really do anything in my makeup collection. But it is objectively a really pretty cool tone quad. If you were looking for anything, if you were looking to buy something from Glam Shop, this could be a nice introduction to the brand and the eyeshadow that they do. I think it's really beautiful. And then the Girl Cult Sinensis, I think that's how it's pronounced. This is really beautiful. It's these really pretty greeny, bluey, sort of yummy shimmering shades. And this is one of the reasons why in 2025 I started trying more C beauty brands, because a lot of indie makeup is made in China, and C beauty, Chinese beauty brands, do the exact same shimmering, beautiful, pretty, flaky things, but at half the price point. Or because this is only 4 pans, like for 4 pans, 20 to 25 euros may seem really expensive, but it's very curated and it's very usable. So this, for instance, together with my little Cool Mattes palette from Viseart, I could bring out in a heartbeat and it would work really well. So do we need 20 pan eyeshadow palettes that are 75 euros? Or can we make do with like a little quad that we can use different mattes with and sort of customize our eyeshadow palettes that way ourselves with what things we already have? As I was saying when the doorbell rang, I would much rather spend 20 to 25 euros on a little quad like this cut out the middleman, get more use out of the rest of my makeup collection in return than keep investing in 75 euro and up eyeshadow palettes that are essentially giving me the same thing. So, and yeah, you'll see, I really think that Chinese beauty brands are going to have even more of a moment in 2026. I really think that that's where the trends are currently going, especially because there seems to be less of a focus on clean girl makeup. Like, the trends are going towards wearing more eyeshadow, more full glam looks. And if you can spend a little less but still get really fun eyeshadow, and I have been finding out that C Beauty is really good at doing that. So, as you will see. More C Beauty, Cheery Up, Jump for Joy, Living Life. I've heard this is being called different things on different websites, I find. So it's always a little confusing. But this is absolutely beautiful. In 2025, 2024, 2025, I was looking for a really good pink toned eyeshadow palette. And K Beauty, J Beauty, C Beauty, it was all over. So I tried a bunch at the end of 2024 to see which I liked. This one came out on top, so this is the one that I decided to keep. You essentially get some like warmer tone pinky tones and then some cooler tone pinky tones, some really fun shimmers thrown in the mix, and Cheery Up is one of those brands where I'm like, yeah, they're doing interesting things, and their palettes do not have to break the bank if you don't want to. Most of their eyeshadow palettes are like 25 to 30 euros for, I think, 16 pans, which is pretty decent. They're tiny pans, but you still get the same vibe, you know? I did really also enjoy the Shadow Sculpt by Unearthly Cosmetics. 2025 is the year where Unearthly was brought back into perspective for me. Didn't love them for a while there because they reformulated, and I liked their older formula better than I did their newer formula. Just because something is new doesn't always mean that's going to be better. And the Ghoul Garden that they released over the summertime is one where I was like, oh, yeah, this is it. A lot of people were saying that this is the Unearthly Cosmetics formula that is like the old formula. I don't find it's the same, but it is better compared to what I've used from Unearthly in that in-between sort of period. This was beautiful, blendable mattes, easy to pick up shimmers, interesting color story. It ticked all the boxes for me. Like, I'm gonna have to be very honest with you. My entire top 20 could have, like, what's in, like, 11 to 20 could have been in my top 10. But these all kind of, like, if I have to choose, if you make me choose, if you hold my hand over a fire and you force it out of me, then the top 10, I was pretty solid on pretty quickly. Norimi Beauty, the Ashes palette. I tried it in December. Another C Beauty brand that is doing some amazing things. Really pretty cool tones, because that's another thing that C Beauty is doing a lot of. Cool tones. So if you love your cool tones, and especially if you like cool tones that are a little bit more colorful, that are like, because this essentially just, it's a neutral palette, right? This is just a neutral palette if you look at it. Just a neutral palette. But what if I told you that all of these gray tones have a slight bluey, green, like blue, green, brown, plum. Like, nothing here is exactly what it seems to be, and I really like it, and they still work together really well. Interesting shimmers. I would want more shimmers with this one, though. More shimmers. Moving on then to Timeless Tones by Glaminatrix. Sadly already discontinued, and I think with Glaminatrix, I wish they kept their products around for a longer period of time. A lot of their palettes only seem to be around for like 2 to 3 months, and then they discontinue and they bring new things out. And I'm like, but I do really like their formula. I really like their quality. They do some really fun things. I especially like their palettes with the dime-sized eyeshadows. I have the Sugar and Spice that I really enjoy. I think that's what it's called, the pastely one. And then I have the, not the Nearly Natural, that's the same size, but the Barely Basics, that one. But this is really nicely, it's apparently like a more cool tone, neutral leaning version with some pops of color in the middle of the Barely Basics. That's how I feel about it. You get very similar things compared to what's in the Barely Basics, but with a slight undertone, different undertone. This has a row of toppers, then an entire gradient per row, and then your mid-tone shimmer that you can use with it. I have said many times how I feel that in this row, like these 3 shades just no, and these 2 are too similar. So I really wish there was a little bit more curation when it comes to the mattes, because whether I use the cream one or the slightly, like whether I use this or this, it's not going to make a huge difference on the lid, you know? So did I need both? I would have wanted this to either be a light blue rather than a gray, just because we can do a light green, but apparently not a light blue. What's up with that? So that I have a whole like blue look, and then this gray could have been here. And I think that would have worked just as well. But that's just me. And who am I, right? I'm not making the makeup. We have the Gothic Romance from Unearthly. This was sent to me in PR, and it took me by surprise because I was like, this is far too matte. I'm not gonna like it. It's the Unearthly formula that not a lot of people were talking about as being any different from what they did previously. But I think this formula is very similar to what we get in the Ghoul Garden. And the looks I did with this were so pretty. It completely took me by surprise. It blindsided me. There's only 4 shimmers though. That's why I can't put this in the top 10. But we get a full row of like pinky tones, then we get these warm tone neutrals, these green tones, this deep shimmer. I thought I was going to hate it. It's my favorite shade in the palette. It's so beautiful. And then a full row of purples. And the beautiful thing about this is that even if you mix and match these, it still works. This was not one I had clocked as being in my top 15 eyeshadow palettes of the year when it was first released. I really didn't. If I hadn't tried it, I really wouldn't have thought it was any good. I really wouldn't have. Dark Dreamscape by Bella Beauté Bar. After the unoriginal nudes, I was a little worried that that was the quality we were going to get from shimmers from this brand from now on. I was like, oh, I hope they don't change that. And then they released this. And then I was sent it in PR by Monolith, and I was like, oh, this is so pretty. And remember what I said? I have plenty of pastels in other palettes. Case in point, because this palette is so deceiving because you see the cover, right? Light and dark. So that your brain goes, there will be light and dark in the same palette. And it definitely looks like that because these shades definitely look quite intense in a lot of the shades or pictures I've seen. But in usage, on my fair skin, it's not that deep. It's not that dark. So I'm getting really, really beautiful, interesting sort of like pinky, purpley, greeny, teal shades. And that shimmer in the middle, she is something special. Bella Beauté Bar has been doing this in every single palette I've tried from them this year almost, where one shimmer is this really interesting, like, if I had to ever pull these apart, those are the shimmers I'm definitely keeping because they're really onto something here. It's not holographic. It is still a multi-chrome, but it's definitely different shifts that I haven't seen from other brands before. So they're really onto something, and we're getting oranges in here, but they worked really well with some of these shades. So yeah, I was really, really taken with this. Again, a palette where I had my doubts, but now that I've tried it, I'm like, oh yes, that's a beautiful palette. I keep all of my Nomad palettes in their boxes because very often the box adds to the experience. So that's why I keep it. But this is the Chamonix Après-Ski, and Nomad, I've always said, is the best brand if you're a beginner with makeup and you're afraid of using indie shadows because it's far too thick and creamy and heavy and you don't have the skills. If you have very little makeup skills, Nomad kind of does it for you. Not only do their color stories pretty much spell out how to use a palette, I mean, essentially you're getting 3 6 pans in here, so that works, but it's also 3 shimmers with 3 mattes. You can use them together. The formula is really easy, blendable, buildable, easy to use. You can use it with fingers. You can use it with other tools. This is the only indie brand where I'm like, yes, even if you only have those cheap sponge tip applicators, you can still make this work. All you need is one blending brush and your finger or a sponge tip applicator with these. They are foolproof, easy to use. That's why I'm ranking them so highly. And indeed, berries, greens, and blue tones. You know we like that color story on this channel. I love that sort of thing. But this is, I think, one of the best blue, green, purple color stories that we've had in the past year. Not these other things that I showed you before. This one. This one. This one. Like if I want muted sort of pinky berry with greens and like purpley things, I would go for this and not the Lovers or the Crown Jewel. And finally, just outside of the top 10, the Ocean Jewel. If you're looking for a really, really good colorful eyeshadow palette, Ocean Jewel. Ocean Jewel. Remember what I said about liking blue, greens, and purples? Yeah. This is essentially blue, greens, and purples, but on steroids. It's not the muted, like the Dark Dreamscape has it as well a little bit. It's more like pinky purple, I feel. The Nomad is a little bit more muted, but this is if you want to be punched in the gut. If you like your acid greens, if you like your really poppy purples, really, really love it. The only reason why this is not in the top 10 is this shade. This shade here, it's a multi-chrome. It's like a pink, it's a purple with a bluey pink flash. It had this really weird creamy texture, and it has me a little bit worried. You can sort of see where I've stuck my brush in, and it's so emollient that I'm thinking it's gonna expire really quickly. Now with these Belle Beauté palettes, you can very easily take them out, so if that were to happen to this palette, I can easily like remedy that and not have it affect the rest of the palette. So that's my least favorite shade in the palette. It still works, it works really well, it looks beautiful actually. But in here we get plenty of shimmers, we get some really nice neutrals that really round it out. We get teals, we get blues, we get turquoisey shades, and turquoises can be really, really difficult to look nice on me. Like for some reason, most turquoises, like especially if they're this bright, I blend them and then they turn like murky. It's something to do with my undertone and how then the shades come together, I feel. But with this, no issues. No issues. So that's why that one is just outside of the top 10. And that means it's time for our top 10. Now you already know which palettes are in here, but in my end of year favorites, I very deliberately didn't really rank them from like number 10 to number 1 yet, because I was like, that's what we're doing in this video today. So if you already know what's in here, there may still be a little bit of a surprise at how I categorize it. I do have to say, like the top 3 I'm very solid on, that those were my 3 favorite palettes of the year. But the rest of it, like you ask me tomorrow, I'll probably organize it in a slightly different way. Just so you know, just so you know. It's not set in stone, okay? Cyrenus by Viseart. This is the best Viseart palette I've tried all year. I'm gonna call it. This is a beautiful neutral color story, and I thought, because it looked very warm-toned online, that this was going to be my least favorite. I bought it together with the Reverie and the Lumiere, but this ended up being my favorite. It has a beautiful duochrome in. It's got some cool tones, these like minky browny gray shades, like these 2 shades here I just love. It's got neutrals right here on the top. It has a little bit of warmth, and then everything else is this really beautiful like cooler tone thing. This dark emerald green shade that's really close to a black gives it contrast and interest. It's the Viseart formula I know I love. Yeah, when they do things like this, that's when I'm really, really chuffed. Like the Lilas and the Reverie, they are really, really beautiful as well. Great formula, but they're just a bit flat. You know, compared to this, they don't have a lot of contrast in, which is why this is in the top 10. Number 9, Beauty Below by Blend Bunny. I've already shown you this and told you how much I loved it. This is 6 quads essentially in different shades. There's one shade that wasn't hugely successful for me, which is the pink tone here. Everything else came together really well. And as with the Dark Dreamscape, this to me looked like it was going to be far too dark. But then I tried it and I was like, oh, but those dark shades are really good as liners for me. And I won't probably use them in any other way. But the rest of the palette really isn't that deep. It's because those deeper tones are in the middle of the palette that it looks so dark, but it actually isn't. So when I was using this, I just completely fell in love. This is the Blend Bunny eyeshadow palette I've been wanting them to do for years because Blend Bunny has such beautiful, beautiful quality. It's just that their color stories aren't always right for me. Number 8, Creme de la Creme by Glam Shop. We all know I love this. I've shown this many, many times in the past year that since I bought it. I think I bought it in April, May, sort of around that time. This is what I wanted Unoriginal Nudes to be. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, this is, of course, this doesn't have the warm tones in that the Unoriginal Nudes has, so it's not an all-rounder when it comes to a full neutral palette. This is so beautiful. And all of these are like satiny, but satin metallics. So in usage, they have more shine than what they look like in the palette, I feel. Really beautiful. It has a really, really good, deep, dark, black shimmer sort of kind of shade that, oh, it's so beautiful. We have a beautiful silver in here. There are some pinky tones in here. It's just a really, really good palette. Glam Shop really did a good job here. Number 7 goes out to the Smolder. This is one of those palettes where I'm like, this could be top 10 if I was able to spend a bit more time with it. Or a top 5, I should say. I said top 10. It's already in the top 10. And the only reason why it's not top 5 is because it has these warm tones in. So it's not a fully cool palette, but I don't mind the warm tones. It's really pretty. If you want to have some warm tones in your cool tone palette, it works really well. We have some gray tones in here. There are taupes. There are some pinky tones. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's really, really stunning. And the shade Smolder, it looks a little boring in the pan, but I found that when you use it all over the lid, it's like the best shimmer for a smoky eye. It's so, so beautiful. And then we get to number 6. And number 6 is the Cheer Yep Steal Your Heart palette, or Steel Heart. Again, this brand just uses different names for their palettes on different websites, so I never know. Got it on YESSTYLE. Really, really pretty. You get some pink tones in here as well, but it's actually a little bit more like taupey, mauvey, and then we have some like rosy, and then over here it's again like pinky gray. Really beautiful cool tone color story. There's only 4 shimmers in here. Again, why it's not in the top 5. But yeah, it does have some beautiful shades in. I do really enjoy this one. And this is not one of the more expensive ones that Cheer Yep does. I do feel their price range really changes depending on how many shimmers you get in the palette. But I believe most of their like 16 pen palettes are all under 40 euros now, which is good. Realm of Fairies by Bella Beauté Bar and Sassy Fairy. This came out at the end of 2024. I only got to try it this year, so that's why it's in this year's ranking, because I hadn't tested it out yet. One of the best cool tone palettes of the year that I've tried. It's blue, gray, purple, and all of the shifts are also cool toned, so it's not making the faux pas of what a lot of indie brands do, where they give you cool tone mattes and then they make the shimmers have a warm shift. This is all cool from start to finish, really beautiful, and again, that one really special flaky shimmer that they put in there. And even though they're flaky, I don't have any struggles with like fallout with these, or with it like not showing up, creasing. Doesn't happen for me. This is a wonderful, wonderful palette. It ticks all the boxes, which is why it's top 5. Another thing that surprised me that it ticked so many boxes for me is a quad, which hardly ever happens. Gelas, this is their Color Phantom Chameleon eyeshadow palette in M4, yes. A purple, a gray, and then 2 sort of shifty shades. One of them a beautiful multi-chrome that doesn't have the flakiness that a lot of the indie brands have. If you need very sort of very little texture in your eyeshadows because you already have very textured lids, then this may be worth a shot. It's absolutely stunning. And again, this was like 20 euros or something on YESSTYLE. It was really, really beautiful, and I can't wait to go back to this at some point. Number 3 is the Bonfire by Glaminatrix. This, it was sent to me in PR by Monolith together with the Terra Moons palette, and this is essentially the same color story, and this I just liked so much better. We get 4 greens, 4 very fiery warm tones, and beautiful, beautiful cool tones all in the same palette. This green shimmer is life. I was so impressed with this, and when I used those warm tones on my eyes, so many of you were giving me compliments on wearing a warm toned look that looked really nice on me. It was those reddish tones. They made the look really, really pretty. And I can see myself like using the greens with the neutrals or the neutrals with the reds. Some of these oranges with the greens will work really nicely as well. This is such a good all-rounder palette where you can use the little families of quads, just the greens, just the warm tones, or just the cool tones as little quads, but it all works together really well as well. Beautiful shimmers, beautiful mattes, really highly impactful shimmers. This is so beautiful, but it's already discontinued, I'm afraid. And then we have Natasha Denona, I Need a Warm. Esther sent this to me as a gift, or she gave it to me as a gift. We met up, and then she gifted me this. She had an extra one. How do you end up with an extra Natasha Denona? It's beyond me, but warm tone palette of the year for me, I guess. I really, really wanted to test this out because I love the Natasha Denona formula so much. And this is warm tones that I feel I can get away with very comfortably. Because I'm like cool to neutral, like I feel like my undertone doesn't change, but I do feel it's easier for me to get away with warm tones in like the summer season, you could say. When I've been outside a little bit more, I don't all of a sudden turn yellow or anything like that. But I do feel that that's the season where I can very easily wear things like this. This is very warm, but everything else is a little bit more neutral leaning, which is why it works for me. There's not a single cool tone in sight here, but because it's such a muted, neutral, warm tone color story, nothing is super peachy in here, I feel. Nothing is overly orange, and yet it's still a warm tone. I feel where the I Need a Nude was like a smack in the middle neutral palette with sort of leaning towards cool. I feel like the I Need a Warm is smack in the middle neutral, leaning a little bit more warm. So I feel like with those two palettes, I'm covering the entire spectrum of what I like. And finally, my palette of the year. This is no surprise if you've been with me. Dieverune Cosmetics, Dieverune, I still don't know how to pronounce them, Magnetic Mineralia. I love the design on the front. I love the color story. I love the quality we're getting in here. Again, impactful mattes, beautiful shimmers, everything goes together, and yet it's interesting. It's cool tone neutral with pops of purple and murky yellowy greens. Yes, please. This is beautiful. It's out of this world. It's one of the most unique things I've tried in recent years. It's why it gets the #1 spot. And again here with these like beautiful shifty shades. Maybe I can show you in the mirror. It's so, so wonderful. I just really enjoyed this. I had such a great time testing this out. And like I said, Smolder was in my October review. This was in my October review. Bonfire was in my October review. Like so many of these were in my October review. It's not even funny. So yeah, that is the end to my eyeshadow palette ranking of 2025. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video today. I have a lot of exciting changes coming up on the channel in the next couple of weeks. It's gonna take me some time to roll it all out, but I have all of my ideas jotted down in my content planner, so I'm gonna roll things out easily in the next couple of months, and then you'll see what those changes are going to be. Thank you so very much for following me, for following my journey. There will be plenty of eyeshadow palettes to test out again in 2026, because that's the main category that I love the most. So getting it to around 50 to 60 has been very manageable for me. I don't want to try too many more compared to what I've done this year. I think this is a good amount for me to be testing out what is new, but still giving me room to play with things and go back to things that I also love. Because what's the use if we cannot go back to the things we love, right? It's a bit silly, really. So yeah, I'm really excited for the new year. I hope you are too. Happy New Year, and then I hope to see you again really soon in a new video. I post 4 times a week over on this channel, all about makeup. Not just eyeshadow palettes, also other things. So stay tuned if you want to learn more. And I have a second channel where I sort of post more lifestyle-y things, so about fashion, books. Whenever I travel, I vlog on there. That channel is called Floating in Books. You can find the link in the description box down below. And if you want to follow my coloring journey, that's what I've been posting on TikTok. So All those links are linked in the description box down below. I would like to thank you so very much for being here. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and then hope to see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye.